Viewers, I'm delighted to be here with Dave from TAD, Pro Audio Design. Dave, how are you today?
I'm doing great. We're enjoying the show. It's been really well attended for day one yesterday, and we're excited for today. It's going to be a fun day, I have a feeling.
Well, we can't wait to get the day started, and what a better way to start the day than with TAD.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So what are we showing here at the show this year?
So we're introducing the new Evolution 2 or the E2 model from TAD. It's a floor standing speaker that's what they describe as a 2.5 way speaker. It's got a beryllium tweeter that was developed specifically for this model, as well as the woofers that were developed for this, which are 6-inch, dual 6-inch mid bass drivers. And then there's a porting system on the back that's a horn loaded port that fires from the front and the back, helping to cancel the left and right bass outputs to really help focus the sound at the listening position and keep it off of the walls. So that really helps in this particular type of environment. Mid-size room, mid-size listening room. The E2 also has a wood finish cabinet, and of course it's bi-wireable or bi-ampable, whichever you prefer. It comes with spikes and all the things that you'd like to have. It's actually mounted on a very heavy gauge piece of steel that's part of the porting system and provides a little bit of a angled front, which helps with time arrival at the listening position and also with standing waves, and its front baffle interface is very minimal.
And how about the rest of the system?
So we've got here, we're showing the both the TAD 1000 series SACD DAC player, which is our source today. We've got the 1000 series amp, which is an Evolution series amplifier with 500 watts per channel. Below that, we've got the Wolf audio streaming system, which we're going to be playing from their hard drive today, or from CD or SACD. And then on the bottom we have the Synergistic Research Power Cell SX, which is a really great piece of gear that, cleaning up the audio. Over here we have a little bit more of the Synergistic gear. We're using their ground bar, and we have everything star grounded, and it's actively ground blocked. So as we progressively put in these pieces, we could hear how it helped open up the system and get the power out of the way.
It's always interesting when you begin to add Synergistic into your system. Every step of the way, there's an improvement.
Yeah, it's an interesting product line, and we've latched onto it a little bit because one of the things about, and if you look in the room, you'll notice we have some acoustic treatments up in here, which is part of who, what Pro Audio Design is about, is looking at the room itself, because much like having a performance vehicle on a racetrack, the room is the track and the vehicle is your system. So we really try to look at the entirety of the performance curve, and so I think Synergistic Research helps us with that. They're interesting because they're tuning for different parts of your system. The power tuning, the room adjustment, cable tuning. Using different types of cable, get different responses, but also with their UHE dots, you're able to kind of soften or bring out presences that maybe, it's like our experience of the system in our room with our equipment has a lot of variables. So they give you some tools to really adjust those things. And then one of my favorite products is the black box, and we're using those in our recording studio projects as well as in the listening environments. And this black box is here because when we were listening at first, we felt there was a little bit of cloudy bass buildup, but the bass wasn't arriving as well at the listening position. So just putting that there made a huge difference. So.
How about the cables?
We have Synergistic. We actually have a couple interesting things. We have SR30 interconnects, which is a brand new product for Synergistic Research here at the show, and that's what's providing the connectivity between the players. We've got some of their cables also on some of their cable bridges, rising the cables off the floor. And
the risers, yeah.
And I was really surprised at how that also influenced the sound. And I liken this whole process. We also have some of their fantastic power cables. We're using their their Ethernet distribution system and cables to run the, we have a closed network here, but their power cables, again, I think it's like little steps along the way, and then you start adding up, and if we're searching for 1 or 2% from each thing, suddenly you get 100% different response, and you don't realize that, which one was it exactly, and so we try to do it systematically and step by step, adjusting first is best the room, and then start working through the cabling. We also have an FEQ carbon, which is emitting some very low RF to, I think it's in the 7 hertz range, and there's a couple different switches on the back to allow you to adjust how it's performing, but it interacts with the other frequencies in the room, and it helps to provide a condition where the sound field is uninterrupted at the listening position. The power cell, I think, was one of the things that also in the whole system that immediately made I was like, okay, that makes a big difference, and it helped to put all of the information at the same time, and I think that sine wave energy, when it's cleaned up, helps really get the delivery of the information at the same time, and so as we were seeing a couple of adjustments, we could hear, okay, that's a little bit more mid or high, and then suddenly it all fell completely together. And that was really, it's a compelling reason to use the equipment. And so when we were putting the room together, I asked if they'd, help us with some of the interconnect and the room devices that we've had some success with. So, that's the system. And I think, the E2, the response we've had here so far is that it has incredible deep bass for a size system of this type. It does go down to 30 hertz, and the high frequency measurements go out to 60K. Pretty flat, actually, remarkably linear speaker. One of the things that the speaker engineer Naratani did with the drivers is there's a low depth to the driver, and that allows the directivity to be kind of using the dual driver vertical interaction and the cone shape. It actually helps the directivity of the system be focused without being pinpointy or something like that. It's just a very broad scope way of getting the information to the listening position. So,
well, let's do some listening. Let's listen
Awesome.
to some Rosie Middleton. She's going to be singing Bizet's Carmen, recording by Chasing the Dragon.
Awesome.
And it's just a beautiful, she has a beautiful voice, and when the orchestra comes through, the room will explode.
I can't wait to hear it.
Okay, let's do that now.
All right, let's do it.
Here we go.
L'autre se paie, et c'est l'autre que je jamais connu de loi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Et si je t'aime, si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Et si je t'aime, si je t'aime, prends garde à toi.
Dave, beautiful. Rosie Middleton, such an organic mezzo-soprano's voice, right here with us, and we're part of the performance. I think that's the thing that this system is delivering. It's delivering you're there with her emotionally, and when the orchestra comes in, the room explodes. It's just in the subtlety, when the horns come in the background. So the system is capturing all this beautiful organic detail in such a natural way. I also noticed you have an interesting stand there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is the Modulum stand, and you can order it a couple different ways. They have some integrated isolation systems. It's these little metal fins under it that stabilize the platform so there's no resonance. And then we have the components are all sitting on the Synergistic Research's MIG technology, which is some kind of ball bearing and ground blocking as well. So they're floating, and you know, when we introduced that, what I noticed was that even though we were playing through a streamer through the DAC, that things really became even more lush and open, and the amp had maybe the biggest difference that I could tell almost instantaneously, like, oh, well, you know, we can't take those away. So, you know, that's the weird thing about their products, that they, you know, you put them in and you take them out and you're like, okay, I have to have that in there. So, you know, and I think the Modulum product looks great, and so we were happy to get that. And it could be reconfigured. You can get a few more pieces and make a double stack out of it, which we may do for the next show if we want to add a few more pieces to the puzzle. But no, it's a great system.
Yeah. All in all, I mean, the speakers are and they're beautiful looking. It's just a clean look that produces a gorgeous music.
Well, you know, I noticed in that piece that there's a lot of crescendos and a lot of like quieter parts, and I felt like the system really expressed those things.
I did too.
In an interesting way, and you know, like you mentioned, the TAD sound, I think is really to get that connection between the artist's original, you know, experience and the listener.
I do too.
You know, getting that direct connection and getting that emotional feeling, I think is such an important part of listening. And you know, one of TAD's actual their slogan is the artist's intent intact, and it very Japanese kind of a philosophy.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, after a while, it's really beautiful statement, which is to say we're trying to create an environment, the one that you just described, of being there with the artist in the experience. So.
Right.
For me, that's the thing I love about the TAD sound, and I've been, you know, since we became the distributor back in October, and these speakers started arriving, and I got to set up in our own listening room and start experiencing it. You know, I knew they were professional drivers for 20 years of making our own speakers out of them, which is how we got to be in this position today. And you know, we have some listening rooms for what we do, and you know, each time it's like, wow, what, you know, this open top end that they achieve by having these extended frequency responses. You know, we're not going to hear 60K, but we do hear the interaction in the harmonic areas that our ears can perceive, and all those, you know, when you go from 20K to 40K, that's only one octave, and you know, and then, you know, so you start looking at it, and we're talking about these growing areas of the range, and I think where TAD really excels is in really delivering something that's a full range experience in time, so that when you put it in your room, you can have that experience of being in the picture. So.
Well, it surely delivers, and when viewers, you heard it for yourself. Spectacular sound here, technical audio design TAD from Japan, being distributed by Pro Audio Design. Dave, thank you very much for bringing these into the country, and outstanding system.
Thank you so much. We're really so pleased to be here with you and with the Florida Audio Expo 2022. It's so good to be with everybody. Thanks so much for coming by.
You're welcome. Have a great show.
Thank you.